This is Grow Omaha Uncut, where you can watch our radio show, including what goes on in the commercial breaks. And be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals at your service. We are broadcasting live from the KFAB studios in beautiful downtown Dundee. Welcome. This is the only show in the metro area that talks about business, construction, real estate, just the growth and development in general of your favorite city. Our sponsors are Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. And now, without any further ado, it's time to bring on my co-host, a legendary real estate deal broker and all-around deal maker, Trenton Magid.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jeff.
Well, good morning to you.
I kind of feel sorry for all the people I feel sorry for Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, because I'm sure all the Berkshire Hathaway guests have tuned into our show for the next hour.
It could be a distraction for everyone down at the CHI Health Center. Of course, Berkshire Hathaway is this weekend. Thousands of Berkeys in town, and that's great for the local economy and great for Omaha to have its weekend at the center of the financial universe. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So Warren Buffett, 92 years old, been doing this for a long time. He's an international celebrity. But nevertheless, today is a big day for him. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people in the CHI Health Center, broadcast internationally on television, CNBC. Do you think Warren Buffett had a hard time sleeping last night? Serious question.
Knowing him, he's used to it. He's been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty sure Charlie Munger at 99 didn't have a hard time sleeping.
Probably at his age, probably no trouble.
He'll have some great
at
clips.
Night. No, but seriously, I mean, I thought about that last night. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, I wonder if Warren Buffett has a hard time sleeping the night before the big shareholder meeting. Because it always seems like every year he has a blast. It's like he's having a blast there. They're
in their element, and everybody looks forward to it. And I think their A shares are, someone said last night, was $491,000.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
I remember in college, 1987, there was a small big correction, and it was $3,700.
And everyone at the time was like, I can't believe a stock would be so expensive.
Now, my parents, they were kind enough to pay for my college, expensive college, Tulane, because I was so smart. And kind of not really.
Smart enough.
And had they just taken that money and put it in Berkshire Hathaway, I'd be set. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be very smart.
You wouldn't be educated, but you'd be a rich guy. Well, let's go into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com is where you can find them online. If you want to stop by the office, no problem, 114th and Davenport Street. But the reason you want to look them up, call them, or stop by the office is a home loan. And a lot of people are looking for houses. We've had that housing shortage, and so there's a lot of pent-up demand. A lot of people over the last couple of years said, I'm going to put that off. Well, now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's still a little bit of a challenge finding a house, but it's better than it was a couple years ago.
We see signs going up.
There are signs going up. There are people buying, people are moving, and if you want to get into that game, one of the first steps you want to take is go see Holly Schneiderwind and her team members at Eagle Mortgage and see what you qualify for, get that pre-approval letter, and go out there and find, hopefully, the home of your dreams. EagleMortgageCompany.com. Well, we already mentioned Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting is today. It's really the whole weekend. The shopping extravaganza on the trade show floor part of the CHI Health Center opened last night. It continues on today. The meeting all day today, all sorts of functions. And so if you see people walking around with those, do you ever notice Berkeys from out of town? The local residents who are shareholders don't do this quite as badly, but the out of town ones, like even when they're not in the CHI Health Center, they wear their Berkshire Hathaway credentials like everywhere. So I mean, they wear if they go to like McDonald's, they're wearing the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder credentials. So if you see those folks,
treat them nicely.
Be nice. Be good hosts, Omaha people. All right, the city of Omaha is proposing an agreement. It goes before the city council on Tuesday with Leo A. Daly to provide architecture and engineering services, site selection services for a future combined police and fire headquarters. Now, this is going to take a while. The process is going to take a while, and then after that, it'll have to go to a bond vote. The voters will have to vote on it. But basically, here's the rub, Trenton. You've got a very insufficient old and outdated police headquarters. And that is between 14th and 15th Street, between
Howard,
Jackson and Howard. And then right to the west of that, between 15th and 16th Street along Jackson, you've got the fire department headquarters, which is, when you walk by, it looks like kind of a 1970s special. Both outdated, need a lot more space, need more modern facilities. So the question that a lot of us have that follow this sort of thing is, where will it go? My guess is it needs to be in the city core, somewhere in the core. Do you put it right in the heart of downtown where it is now and take away land that could be eventually...
14th and Dodge, the old UP site?
Yeah, to me, that'd be a horrible waste because that's such a perfect spot for private development. But on the other hand, you do want it in the core.
Well, it looks like a pretty tall building. If you look at the renderings that they've released...
I don't think that rendering's accurate.
Yeah, they put out a bad rendering.
I think so, because if you look at that rendering, the first thing I thought, there's
blue.
There's a 20-story building that's under development planned in downtown Lincoln, and it looks like to me a dead ringer for that building. And then you look at it, I'm like, why would a police head? I love tall buildings, but they're very, very expensive. I mean, the 45-story Mutual of Omaha Tower is $600 million. I have a hard time seeing a police headquarters over 10 stories. So I couldn't understand why they put that rendering on there.
It's all about the use of land, too. Land is a lot more expensive downtown.
That's true.
And it's harder to build.
That's true. I don't know, but...
it's going to take a while. This process is going to take a while.
We should go for the world's tallest police and fire headquarters.
Yeah.
So here will be the Omaha skyline. Number 1, Mutual Tower. Number 2, First National Tower. Number 3, Woodman. Number 4, the police headquarters.
Absolutely.
Coming in at 28 stories. We'll see what happens. But we do need one. And where do you think they should put it downtown?
I mean, you could put it kind of in the 30th. You could put it kind of by Midtown Crossing.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
I mean,
some people say
it's
maybe
got good access.
Some people say maybe on the eastern side of the old Civic Auditorium site, the southern, not the eastern, the northern side. The southern side, everyone thinks is going to be like residential or mixed use. By the way, the mayor had said in her State of the City address that we would see renderings for the Civic site. And I believe it was the May Planning Board meeting. Something must have happened because those were not presented last week or earlier this week at the Planning Board.
Yeah, I'm sure they're coming pretty soon.
Yeah, that stuff always takes...
That site's been sitting there for a long time.
Well, and big mixed-use developments tend to take a lot longer than people think. All right, here's a cool story. Here's a sign that... in case our show is called Grow Omaha, here's a sign that Omaha is growing. A Guatemalan consulate is set to open locally. This is according to WOWT, which reported on that earlier this week. Once the Guatemalan consulate in Omaha opens, it'll be Omaha's second new Latin American consulate to open this year. El Salvador opened a consulate in March in Miracle Hills. Of course, Mexico has had an Omaha consulate for probably more than 20 years, which is the Mexican consulate here is a pretty big deal, pretty busy place. But the number of Guatemalans in Omaha has increased 50% between 2010 and 2020. And it'll be a real handy thing for Guatemalans because currently the closest existing Guatemalan consulates are either in Chicago or Denver.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I figured. But have the number of Guatemalan restaurants increased?
I can't think of one.
Yeah, see, there's opportunity for Guatemalans to show us their flavors.
I'd go to a Guatemalan restaurant in a heartbeat. A developer is planning to tear down an outdated 48,000 square foot office building at 71st and Mercy Road and replace it with a very nice looking 4-story, 200-unit market rate apartment building. It would also have a 5-level parking structure attached to it. This would be on a 3.15 acre site. Construction is expected to begin in March of next year, March 2024, with completion in September of 25.
That wasn't Elliott, was it? What was that building?
That was, I don't know. It's not the world's most attractive building. It's 3 or 4 stories. It's doesn't have a lot of windows, a lot of window surface area.
Is it industrial?
No. It's office. Do you know where their community or alliance or whatever that organization is building that nice looking building right on 72nd Street? This is immediately to the east of that.
Oh, okay.
The building, to me, it looks like it was built maybe early 70s. And it's a very Spartan looking, but kind of has like a government building look, like not very nice, not very not very attractive. Apologies to whoever designed it. I don't mean to be insulting anyone, but it's ugly. And I don't think a lot of people will miss it. Good. And it's tucked back there, and this looks like a real nice redevelopment project. So out in Gretna, New Street Properties and Darland Construction recently broke ground on a 400,000 square foot warehouse in a new industrial development that is called Gretna Logistics Park. It's southeast of I-80 and Highway 31. So in other words, south of Interstate 80 from Nebraska Crossing. The first building, 400,000 square feet, will have 36-foot ceilings, which is impressive.
Yeah, it's very tall.
We like that for industrial buildings that can appeal to a lot of different tenants. And when completed, this Gretna Logistics Park will be a 170-acre development with 2 million square feet of industrial space under roof. First building should be completed in March, and according to Darland Construction, it'll be Omaha's largest contiguous industrial park.
Nice. We've really, over the last 20 years, especially the last 10, we've really stepped up our quality of industrial. R&R and White Lotus, the data centers, of course. It just, we had, when I got in this business 30 years ago, it was kind of embarrassing the type of industrial space that was leasing. And
oh yeah, like and 30 years ago when you got in this business, when you thought of Omaha industrial,
20-foot ceilings,
yeah, with cheap metal siding, and rarely did you ever see a building above 100,000 square feet.
Right.
Probably didn't see too many above 50. And now it's totally different. It's the type of industrial you would see in some of the industrial hubs like Chicago or some of the others around the country.
Absolutely, and there's a demand for it.
That fills up pretty fast, and the industrial vacancy rate remains about 3% or lower in the Omaha area, despite the fact that we've added millions of square feet in the last few years.
Absolutely.
Well, another urban infill project to talk about today. This is really cool. It's planned for the corner of 13th and Pine Street. So that's in the Little Bohemia area, 13th and Pine. Just a little, in fact, it sits on the site. It's a 3-parcel site, but one of them is the former ethnic sandwich shop, which to me looks like it was a Dairy Queen at one time. And so that can help a lot of people picture where we're talking about. At any rate, that ethnic sandwich shop former building will be demolished, and then plans call for a 5-story building with 59 apartment units, 5,400 square feet of ground level commercial space. But we're seeing this over and over again. We're talking about, how we want to make the core of Omaha very special and very densely populated. It's projects like this that do exactly that.
You got to go up, ladies and gentlemen. You've got the infrastructure. As long as you're not taxing it too much, you're not taxing the schools too much, you need to have the vertical structures in order to keep people in the core.
Well, speaking of tax, last year was a record breaker for tax increment financing loans. We call these TIF, tax increment financing TIF loans, TIF. The city of Omaha approved $159 million in TIF. Now, it's a financing tool used to encourage private investment in areas that technically are referred to as blighted. It's kind of an obnoxious word. It's more like areas where, we want to rejuvenate, renew, and encourage development. So a good chunk of Omaha east of 72nd Street, most of that area is technically blighted, so you could do TIF development there. And but this is a big jump up. TIF loans averaged a little over $42 million per year for several years, but part of this was attributed to 2 major projects. Mutual of Omaha's $600 million project and Warhorse Gaming Casino's plans at 60-something and Q. Those 2 projects alone accounted for 54% of the total TIF money.
Yeah, and the idea is when the planning department, planning board, and the city looks at it, it's but for. If it wasn't but for this tax, these projects wouldn't happen. And the city's still getting the taxes, although the current valuation, and then over the next 15 years, the incremental taxes go to finance the project.
A lot of people have been critical of TIF lately. In fact, there's been some griping about it in the Nebraska legislature this year, but I think sometimes people allow their emotions to get the best of them. TIF is a good thing. We desperately need investment in the city. We are running out of developable space in Douglas County that the city of Omaha could someday annex. The only way you keep this city vibrant and thriving in the older areas is to rejuvenate those areas. Do what incentives are necessary. TIF is a very responsible and fiscally reasonable incentive. Do things like that, and you keep developers wanting to invest in the core.
Well, what's interesting is, and a result of that, for better or for worse, let's say I have a redevelopment site, which I do, out west that doesn't qualify for TIF, right? So it's an old building, and then they want to tear that down and build row houses and condos or apartments. Well, the developers are going to say, well, I can't get as good a deal without TIF, so I'm going to go do a TIF project, which helps the urban core, but it may not help developers do projects out west or midtown.
Yeah, exactly. With that, we're going to wind down the news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. Take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to have David Drozd join us. David is the Director of Research and Data Analytics at Community Health Development Partners. He's the local expert when it comes to population and demographics data. And we're going to talk to him about Omaha's growth and Nebraska's growth. Important stuff. You want to hear all of this? You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
So, being the excellent broadcaster you are, I'm glad that you had the correct pronunciation of your guess.
That's because we've had him on the show before.
Oh?
Yeah.
So can he hear this conversation right now?
Sure. Yeah. David?
Can you hear us talking? Or can you just hear the,
while you're on hold, you hear what's on the radio.
on the radio?
Yeah, he can't hear.
He can't hear us. He hears the advertisers.
Oh, yeah. Here's the advertising.
Right.
Hey, Amy.
Here's whatever the radio people hear.
Going after this to with Samantha to go get an industrial listing in Council Bluffs.
Oh, good.
Good access.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Is it a pocket listing?
No, we haven't signed it up. But it'll go fast. About 2.5 acres. Great access to the interstate.
You're worried you'll get there and he'll say no.
It's a woman.
No. Women never tell you no.
Let's get that fixed.
That's for me.
Yeah. Is that true, Amy?
Can I not go out with you? No.
No, actually, the answer is yes.
Yeah, true.
Can I not?
Having trouble finding lasting relief from
Women never tell me no.
pain? For most people, there is
I
a
know,
better
go
way.
out with you.
This is Dr. Drew Drummond at Spinal Balance Health Center.
Oh, hallelujah.
What are you guys doing this weekend?
Other treatments of pain,
Nothing real exciting.
Stay home last night?
Went to a movie last night.
What did you see?
Air.
including low back
You haven't seen it yet? Is that awesome or what?
Why is it every time
consultation.
you say you go see a movie,
That's
one of the most common responses, you haven't seen it yet? And then the other one is, if someone says, have you seen such and such, have you seen it? Everyone's like, you haven't seen it? Why do people do that?
What'd you think?
I loved it.
I just thought it was well done. And
I loved it. I didn't know all of that.
the guy that designed the original shoes, and then he also designed the shadow stunk.
the silhouette.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
he died, yeah.
Brilliant. No, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know all of that. I mean, I guess it never
I
even...
mean, Phil Knight, he's a pretty eccentric dude.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of characterizing how odd of a fellow he is, but at the same time making him a very likable character.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't help but like Phil Knight in that, but he was wacko. He was a little wacko, like a wacko genius.
Right.
Which probably is
And
what he is.
I didn't realize they were just so big in running shoes and how far behind they were in basketball shoes.
Which I find interesting, because back in those days, in the early 80s, when we were kids, we all wanted Nikes.
Yeah.
Like, now we also like
Reeboks. Remember how big Reebok
for a
was?
while, yeah. And then Brooks and Adidas were a big deal when we were kids. But I remember when Nikes were coming around, we all wanted Nikes.
Dirty.
They were cool shoes.
So,
but I guess not with the
there
basketball.
was a reel
kids.
that we saw that, did you ever see, what was it, the movie Idiocracy with Luke Wilson? It's a movie about how
You're supposed to say, you didn't see
we all get
You haven't seen it?
everything gets dumbed down and we're all stupid and everything. And they needed some space.
the world.
Space-looking shoes. This is 20, 30 years ago. So they found this little company called Crocs, and all these people are wearing these stupid shoes called Crocs.
Crocs.
And that's what blew it up.
So they're actually predicting the future.
They were
Very
popular for a while.
accurately. Very accurately.
And he's ready.
And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Maggot in the studio. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. We have with us David Drozd. He is the Director of Research and Data Analytics at Community Health Development Partners. And you might recognize his name because for years, David has been kind of the go-to source around here for population demographics and data like that. David, good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you back, and we want to talk to you about some data we've noticed recently that is of concern. Douglas County, well, first of all, start with Nebraska population growth was about half the recent norm when you look at the growth between 2021 and 2022. And even in the Omaha metro area, it appears that growth has slowed dramatically compared to the growth rate before the pandemic. So let me just kind of throw that out there and hear what your reactions are to what I just said.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. You know, last couple of years, the 8-county Omaha metro has grown by about 4,000 people per year, and that's opposed to about 10,000 per year during the 2010s decade. So it is about half the level of the growth, and, you know, we're just seeing some differences, you know, slow down in natural change, meaning births versus deaths, and then also our migration numbers haven't been really good of late. So growth has slowed nationally as well, but we are seeing it locally, which is a little bit different than our recent experience.
David, when it comes to growth in, say, Douglas County and Lancaster County and Pottawatomie County, are those at the detriment of smaller towns throughout the states?
Well, you know, typically the areas are integrated and working together, but what I see in these numbers is one of the reasons Douglas County has slowed down is that we have seen a higher level of growth in some of the outlying counties. So Saunders County with Wahoo, Washington County with Blair, and Cass County with Plattsmouth. So each of those three counties have, on a per-person basis, are roughly growing double what they did last decade, while Douglas County specifically has really slowed. So the assumption on that might be related to pandemic and being able to work from home, and maybe people are wanting to be where they have a little bit more space or preferences in their school system and things like that. So we are seeing a little bit of pressure on the urban core, but the suburban has done a little bit better.
Is Douglas County losing to Sarpy County?
It traditionally has when it comes to migration. You know, so a lot of people are, you know, going to college, maybe get a first house in Douglas County, but then they tend to want to go a little bit more suburban. And Sarpy County has really fit that mold, especially with its lot of new housing and some of the options you have there.
Historically, Omaha has been an immigrant town. Much of the city's growth for over 100 years can be attributed to foreign migration or immigration. That was compromised during the pandemic. Talk to us a little bit about the current immigration growth and where that's trending right now, David.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. You know, we do have that history, and it does continue. And you know, one of the surprising things that we see as you look at North Omaha, for example, we do see a lot of growth there of various races, including foreign-born black population from Africa and other places, and then foreign-born Asian, and that's one of our fastest groups that's growing. So across the board, you know, migration goes up and down. There's some both state and national policies that drive that. It is one of the hardest things for the Census Bureau to track and find and be able to, you know, appropriately account and allocate those numbers to all the states and localities. So when we do look at the 2020 census results, though, we do see a lot of growth, especially in populations of color, and a lot of those are from outside the United States. So immigration does keep our population growing.
Interestingly, the pandemic started in March of 20. Had it started in, say, 2018, that really would have made it difficult for census numbers for the 2020 census, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, it pretty much right when the census was getting going. The target date is April 1st, and the forms get mailed out in early August. But
of what year?
There are some, door-to-door operations in 2020, and those all had to be suspended and delayed for quite a while.
So they actually do the 2020 census all during 2020, and the results come out, a year or two later?
Yeah, they're supposed to come out a year later on the counts for reapportionment. So that process is all taking place with the redistricting. But we are still waiting for some of the more detailed numbers. So we haven't received data by 5-year age group, for example. So that's supposed to come out here at the end of May, and be about 3 years after the census. Whereas 10 years ago, it came out, a little over a year after the census. So this is quite a wait for us who work with data.
Okay, talking with David Drozd from Community Health Development Partners. So, David, we had about 4,000 net growth in the metro area as opposed to the normal 10 during that period of time. I've talked to a few people about that, and everyone seems to be a little bit perplexed because when we drive around town, we see construction here, construction there. The traffic is coming back, has come back from the pandemic. It feels like a place that's growing a lot faster than it is. Is there any chance that this data could be underreported, or any thoughts on why we feel like we're growing, but yet we're growing at less than half the pace we had been?
Or everybody came in 22.
These are estimates, and they're based on a certain set of methodology. So, the birth and death numbers are fairly sound because those are based off filed birth and death certificates. The migration's always a wild card, especially related to college students, and again, the international in-migration is tough. But they use primarily IRS tax records to see where a person or a family files in 1 year versus the next, and that helps identify those moves. But we do see these numbers in the estimates that show a slowing of the migration also reflected in some survey-based numbers that the Census Bureau does. So that's where we look at our brain drain, or people who are 25 and older that have at least a bachelor's degree and their migration. So we've been tracking this for about 15 years, and our current levels here in 21 are the lowest, or in Nebraska's sense, worst that they've been in that entire 15-year time frame. So for whatever reason, we're seeing a little bit more people, and again, retirees, people move for a variety of reasons, and that brain drain number kind of encapsulates all of that, not just your students. So while the numbers could have some error in them, it's definitely possible they are our best go-to source, and we'll see, again, as additional data comes out, next year, if the numbers support each other or show that there were some flukes in the methods early in the decade.
Okay, we got one more minute, and I want to ask you one last question that you kind of segued into, and that's why. Do the data give you any indication as to why? Because we hear things like our unemployment rate is so low, the weather's not so great here, taxes are high, there's a housing shortage in Omaha. Do you have any idea what the primary causes are that has cut our growth rate in half lately?
Yeah, so I'd put that on the migration. So when it is very true, Nebraska has one of its lowest unemployment rates ever, but the gap between our current low unemployment rate and the national rate, which is about 3.5%, that's also at an all-time low. So we don't have a very large gap, whereas like in the Great Recession, our unemployment rate was about 6 points lower than the national average, whereas right now it's maybe a point or a point and a half lower. So there's just a lot of more opportunities for people to go and find work in other locations. And the other factor, some of our cost of living, we used to have a good advantage there. Some of that has dwindled, especially as some of our housing costs have gone up locally.
Okay, well, fascinating stuff. David, as always, we appreciate you providing valuable information, and thanks for being part of the show.
Yes, so thanks so much for having me, and have a good day.
Thanks, David.
David Drozd, the Director of Research and Data Analytics at Community Health Development Partners. Going to break for the news. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
So,
Fascinating stuff.
you know what it is?
What?
It's tourism. We get so much tourism that the roads are crowded and
Chock full.
all the Kiewit Luminarium and all these things. People are dying to come to Omaha on vacation.
It is perplexing, though, because
even though I'm being facetious,
Yeah.
we're still getting some of that.
Well, actually, I think you're actually, what you're saying is very, very correct. Because if you think about it, if Douglas County, which always loses population to Sarpy, but if we're now losing population to Saunders and Washington, as some people went out during the pandemic, those people are still coming here all the time to work and to shop and to go out. So yeah, you're probably right. And as we continue to add attractions like Kiewit, yeah, we're going to have more people coming.
It's interesting how if we have a 2% unemployment rate, so what he's saying is it's hard to find a job in Omaha. It's hard to get people to come here because they can't. There's not as much job opportunities. So how in the hell do we get? What comes first, the jobs or the people? That's our conundrum.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the people that are doing this stuff downtown are to be commended, because if you're downtown and your core rocks, more people want to be in the core. The more people that are in the core, the more people that will be just outside the core, and then the more people that will be in the suburbs. And so that's why I'm like streetcar, the $300 million park thing, and all the related development, huge, because you got to start from the core out. And like, for instance, right now in recent years, Des Moines, Iowa has been growing a lot faster than us. But metro area. But if you look at the city of Des Moines, it actually shrunk in population over the last couple of years by a lot. And I've been told that their office vacancy is terrible. Their Wells Fargo, which had thousands of employees downtown, are getting rid of all of them in downtown Des Moines. Their retail is, like, their downtown is hurting. And so if you look at the long-term future,
if they lose Come and Go, that office,
there's another corporation. And Wells Fargo's leaving town most of them. They're just eliminating jobs. They're not moving to the suburbs. And so you look at their long-term with their core being weak now, it's concerning. You look at our long-term, we're putting billions into our core.
Yeah. You know what we need is, and if this next project with 8,700 jobs and 40,000 construction jobs over 10 years or whatever, if bringing people from around the country, so that's a project that will bring people in and families in, that'll bring other families and their kids in and everything else. But we need a company, just like Conagra took a chunk out of Omaha. If we can get a Toast or anyone that actually picks up and moves and offers those employees to come, that's the best thing we could hope for.
Yeah, and I think if downtown gets more and more exciting and all that, that'll help with things like that. The airport improvements that are coming will help with things like that. The things that probably hurt us with that are weather and high taxes.
What's the airport? Is it how big? $600 million or something?
$600 million.
How we like $600 million on a lot of these projects. When's that supposed to be completed?
I think
that was from the start about 5 years, probably 3.
For the airport to be completed 3 years?
I think we're supposed to start by the end of this year.
Or are you talking about
the terminal expansion? Is this supposed to start at the end of this year, and then take?
Well, I was counting from when they started doing the outside.
Getting rid of the current terminals?
I'm just talking about the terminal.
Oh, okay.
They're going to. I think they'll probably incorporate part of it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one big long one.
Yeah.
With one massive security entrance, like most airports, instead of this weird pod thing, which means when you get to a flight early and you're hungry, we'll actually have restaurants there now. Because right now you just have like things that are glorified. No offense to those businesses, but glorified snack bars that are. It's just,
yeah.
Like if you're rushing to get to the airport and you finally get there, like, I'm starving. You're like, Do I want a hot dog? So then you just wait till you get to your destination before you have anything to eat.
One of my clients owns a Jimmy John's down in the Florida airport. It just rocks.
You gotta kill it. Yeah. It's interesting.
That's a perfect food to take on that doesn't smell of the whole airplane.
National brands in airports, busy airports, probably got to knock it dead. I'm sure they pay really high rent.
Yeah, they do.
But typically, not always, but typically, the service, the workers in airport locations just suck.
Yeah.
Like one of the single worst Chipotle I've ever been to in my life was in an airport. Like it was so bad that I can't believe Chipotle allows it to be there.
Right.
Because it's so bad for their brand.
You're talking about local brands that are expanding. On Omaha Food Lovers, something got started, and it got taken over by some people in Florida that had Omaha connections, and the number of them that said they're opening the scooters down the street from here. They open the scooters. Most who are in the Florida Panhandle.
Scooters?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a big area of growth for scooters right now? Scooters is really spreading.
They're almost at 1,000, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting there. A couple years ago, I was doing a program for a real estate company in Milwaukee, and it was a full day program. And at the break, I overheard a bunch of brokers talking about, and the guy's like, "What is it? It's the scooters." It's like the scooters, coffee, whatever it is going everywhere. And it's like, I know. And I was just kind of like,
I've got a tour this week with Mocha Java, it's called, and
that you're representing them.
Yeah,
they're out of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I think they have one in Alaska and some other states.
We put them in the Groma newsletter, and I put a photograph of one of their buildings on the Facebook page. Attractive looking building.
Yeah.
So are they going to do freestanding buildings? Is that their
They
goal?
prefer, but they'll do land leases. And
Do you have a spot? I know you might not be able to
We've got
say
like 5 of them.
Okay.
But
Confidential, folks.
Between car washes and coffee, they're both liquid businesses if you think about it.
All you need is a clean car and some caffeine. Well, this segment's going to be really short because we went along with the first two.
30.
Okay. So I think we'll do like a 5-minute session here, probably. Because we have about a total of 11 or 12 minutes left in the show of talk time. Something like that. We'll do about 5 minutes on this segment. Short.
Open your app and search the station to be instantly qualified for the cash.
Yay!
Let's get it on.
Yeah, 5 cents.
Podcasts you love.
Listen to News Radio 1110 KFAB anywhere, anytime on your free iHeartRadio app. All your music, radio, and podcasts.
And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Maggot at your service. We really want to thank Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding, because without them, no Grow Omaha. And we love Grow Omaha, and we love spending Saturday mornings with you. So thank you to Dingman's with 4 metro area locations, and D&M Roofing and Siding, which provides commercial and residential roofing services all across eastern Nebraska and the western half of Iowa. So it's time for our Noddle Companies Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight of the Week. Noddle Companies, based right here in Omaha, under the leadership of Jay Noddle and his outstanding team of developers and designers and project managers. Here in town, they're doing projects like Steel Ridge in Papillion, the West Omaha Village Point Medical Campus, Builders District downtown, Rivers Edge and Council Bluffs, many others. And the one that we often talk about is Exarban Village, perhaps their most famous local development. Got a couple little Exarban updates for you today. Have some leasing activity occurring at the ground level of the HDR building. You'll recall Greenbelly used to be on the northern corner, I would say the northwest corner of that building. And Greenbelly has been they've lost several locations.
Yeah.
And that space has been leased. Now, we do not yet know the identity of the company that is taking it, so we look forward to finding that out. But the Greenbelly space has been leased. And then just a little bit south of that, in the former Lululemon pop-up space, Lululemon left there when they opened their permanent store at Regency. We have a men's clothing store.
That's unique.
Going into that space. So if you look at Exarban, it's really doing a good job of becoming a mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented development where people can live their lives. You've got all the jobs there in the nice office buildings. You've got a lot of residents. And it's not just a couple little bars or restaurants.
You've got medical nearby.
Yeah, I mean, you've got hair salons, nail salons, clothing stores. Now it's really diversifying and becoming its own little downtown area, a village, as it was always intended to do. Perhaps one of the best mixed-use built, kind of designed and built up new mixed-use developments in this part of the country.
Well, you can buy condos. You got a plethora of apartments you can choose from. You have recreation. You can have pets.
And then last week we talked about pre-leasing is now underway for a 9-story office building at Exarban Village that will be just catty corner to southeast of the HDR headquarters. So it's where the sand volleyball courts are currently located. And then future plans call for 2 or 3 more residential buildings at Exarban Village. So more development to come in an area that's already pretty densely developed. Cool space.
Keep in mind, this is a huge development that, what was that, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, that people were talking about putting casinos there?
Thank God that didn't happen.
Oh, my gosh. Could you imagine?
Could you imagine, like, if Exarban was like one casino, a Hampton Inn, and a Menards? I mean, because that's what it was headed to. If you had done the casino there, and you might have had like a Hardee's or something like that. That would be it. Instead, we have like a second downtown in Exarban Village. So kudos to all the visionary people, including Noddle Companies, which made that happen. If you want to learn more about Noddle Companies, it's super easy. Go to noddlecompanies.com or check out Noddle Company's Facebook page. Also, maybe the Exarban Village Facebook page has a lot of activity, a lot of posts on there, and you can keep up with what's going on in that development and other Noddle Company's developments. Have you seen the new Charles Schwab sign on top of the building in Old Mill?
Yeah, you posted on Facebook as well, our Facebook page. That is a large sign.
Yeah, if you want to see a big sign. In fact, Brad Williams took a photograph up close of the workers suspended from the top of the building installing those letters. Each one of those letters is like the height of 2.5 workers. So pretty cool. And although it's a little bit sad to see the TD Ameritrade name go
Joe
away.
Ricketts has that in his house in New York.
Took those letters?
Yeah.
That would, you'd have to have a big house for those letters.
I'm sure he's got a big house.
He probably has a big house. Well, the newest edition of the Grow Omaha Brad Williams construction update video dropped this week, and everyone looks forward to this. It's sponsored by Leader Construction, but Brad does about half dozen of these a year. And in the videos, he just goes through and explains and shows video of some of the great the construction projects that are currently underway. And this month, he talked about Heartwood Preserve, Lakeside Hills, a lot of suburban stuff. He also talked about an urban renewal multifamily project at 39th and Dodge, some residential apartment stuff. Cool video. If you want to see it, just go to growomaha.com and click on shows, SHOWS, shows in the navigation bar. And then on that drop-down window, one of the shows is the Grow Omaha construction update.
And it provides another element and another sense where you've got the video. You actually see the progress. Here you hear the progress. The newsletter, you read the progress. And Brad puts it all in the visual.
Yeah. And Brad he has a nice touch when he does these videos because he doesn't spend too much time. They're short. They're like 7 minutes. He just kind of shows you these projects, says a little something about them. You get a view. And there are so many projects that he crams into one 7-minute video. I mean, we have a lot of people after like a month or two has come by and it's almost time for the next video. I get emails at news@growomaha.com. When's the next video coming? When's the next construction video? Well, it's out. It came out this week, so go check it out. It's really good. If you don't want to go through growomaha.com, you can also go to the Grow Omaha Facebook page. It is always made available there as well.
Or the YouTube channel.
Yep, Grow Omaha YouTube channel. So many ways to get access to that. Well, it's time for our final break of the day, and when we come back, it's the Turner Construction Lightning Round. You're listening to Grow Omaha on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
No paper rattle? Furiously.
It'll be tight, won't it? I forgot the paper rattle because we're so out of time.
But actually,
To our sister station, 93.3 The Wall.
our last break is a minute short,
Oh, good.
which
Thank
is
God.
unusual. So
How much time will I have?
you're
Now
going
you
to
tell
you're going to have a solid 5 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay. We can do some damage in 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get your music at 57:45.
57:45. Mute. So then I'll have a half.
Then you'll
half
have
minute.
35 seconds.
Music at 57:45. Okay.
What time's the Derby today, Raj?
About 5:30.
Oh, it's that late?
It's always is.
So it's 6:30 Kentucky time. Oh no, they're
I
yeah,
know.
they're Eastern.
Yeah, they're Eastern. They're just barely Eastern.
Lisa Ritter,
I went there
buying or
to the
selling your
Derby
home
in
is probably one of the
2005.
biggest
Smarty
financial
Jones.
transactions you'll ever make.
A lot of waiting around for a 2-minute race.
Experienced, caring,
Oh, it was fun, though.
responsive
Oh,
realtors
okay.
that
We had a
know
hell
how
of
to
a
make your real
thunderstorm
estate
about
dreams
an
a
hour
reality.
before the
My
race.
husband Dennis and I have made it our life's
And they were
work
doing
to live
their
the best of what we do
renovations
to ensure you get
or
the
just getting them
results you
started.
deserve. We're grateful
And
we've won Best of Omaha awards
the area
11
where
years
I was,
running. We know our
you know, the
market
betting
and how to
windows,
best serve you. Visit
water
RitterSellHomes.com
all
and
over the
contact
place.
us today.
People slogging through water. My wife and I got separated. 140,000 people. I just looked up. There she was in her big red hat.
Thank God for that.
You went to Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
Sweet. What year?
2005.
It was fun.
It was great.
Did you have mint julep?
Yeah, they suck.
I don't like mint juleps.
They sucked. I was drinking Coors Light Big Boys.
Supposedly, Denver is like the second largest celebration for the Kentucky Derby.
Really?
The Spencer Morse is there this weekend, and it's huge. They fill up stadiums.
So you go to Denver for the Kentucky
for the
Derby.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is Nebraska's news weather.
Who knew? Look at that. 99 years old.
10
Yep. With his box of C's peanut brittle.
and iHeart radio station.
Well, we've got Warren and Charlie on the monitor here in the studio. Combined age just under 200 years. And they're talking, and I'm sure there are tens of thousands of people that are glued to every word. Pretty cool. Berkshire Hathaway meeting in Omaha. This is the lightning round brought to you by Turner Construction. Of course, the show is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing. But Turner Construction makes this part of the show possible, the part where we talk about a lot of things in a short period of time. And oh my goodness, Turner Construction is making an impact on this town. They are building this town up, and big projects, medium projects, little projects. Couple things you need to know about them. Number one, if you're looking for a contractor, your business needs to build a building. Go to Turner Construction because they have deep, deep resources, a deep bench. They do outstanding work, and they're good at keeping things under budget. Second, if you're looking for a place to work in construction, go there. They treat their people like gold. When I talk to the local team from Turner, everyone loves working there. So thank you to Turner Construction for making this possible. Trenton, are we ready?
We are ready.
All right. Williamsburg Pizza. Get a load of this. New York City Pizzeria, 5 New York City locations. They are going to put their very first location outside of New York City in Omaha, Nebraska.
This is their first outside of New York.
First, yeah.
And that's because the operators, Dean Hodges and his sons, do a heck of a job running them.
It'll be at a 1,600 square foot space in the same building as an existing Jimmy John's southwest of 168th and Harrison. Dean Hodges and his family plan to open eventually 2 or 3 more additional Omaha stores, plus locations in other markets as well.
He has Jimmy John's in Boise, Idaho, and Las Vegas.
The same family, the same company is bringing Hawaiian Brothers Island Grill to Omaha. It is expected to open its first metro area location by the end of this year, southwest of Interstate 80 and Highway 370 in the Wicks South Point development in Gretna. This is a chain based out of Kansas City. They currently have 35 locations in 7 states, but that's going to grow dramatically. They're in a very big expansion mode, and they serve island-inspired plate lunches, sides, and salads. Can't wait to try it.
That's a whole new category.
So a lot of people, Trenton and Omaha, are going to be excited about this one. Nettie's Fine Mexican Food, which sadly was completely destroyed in a December fire. is coming back to life. The new building will be constructed on the original site at 7110 Railroad Avenue in Bellevue. We don't yet know the exact date, but Nettie's had a very loyal following.
Absolutely.
Jim's Rib Haven also had serious fire damage at 38th and Ames Avenue. Their fire was in late March, so not that long ago, but they're already starting the rebuild. There's work going on inside. Refurbished Jim's Rib Haven is expected to be open in the fairly near future. We just don't know the exact date.
Loyal customers following.
Good place. Kaio Sushi is taking over a 2,700 square foot space that was Beijing Tokyo at 3503 Sampson Way in Bellevue, opening in June. And I was just thinking, Trenton, we need more Starbucks in town.
We need more Starbucks, car washes.
Well, a Starbucks is coming to 184th and West Maple Road. So all of you who commute along there, who love your Starbucks, congratulations. It is on the going to work side of the street, the south side up there. The building sits in front of the future Fleet Farm, which is going into that area. Also out on the West Maple corridor, a little north of Maple along 204th, the exact address would be 204th and Laramie. Construction has started on a Pepper Jack's Grill.
And next to that, a Jimmy John's, the strip center going up just to the north on the north side of Laramie.
Is that what's going on next to it? That was on my list to go find out.
Yeah, a Jimmy John's, and then they'll have room for other tenants.
You just saved me time this week by helping me out. So there you have it. Restaurants on the 204th corridor north of Maple. We talked about Frank's Pizzeria planning to take the Lighthouse Pizza space in the Capital District downtown. Well, they opened earlier this week. And speaking of another place that people have been anticipating opening, Muchachos, new Omaha location in Little Bohemia, 1258 South 13th Street, opened yesterday. And Trenton, this is the place that is in downtown Lincoln, has New Mexico-inspired barbecue place, became wildly popular, was even featured during a Husker football broadcast.
Yep.
And so now they have it in South O, and I'm sure it'll be a big hit.
Interesting location.
I've not yet tried it.
For their first location, it'll be interesting to see how they get people down there.
Well, I think they appeal to a young urban crowd. So the music is playing, which means that we have to stop talking. And we regret that, but we'll be back next week and chat with you then. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, which is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, D&M Roofing and Siding, and of course, Turner Construction. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.